Voss, three-time premiership captain of the mighty Lions. Brownlow medalist, ruthless, inspirational leader, and one of the greatest to ever play the game. Craig McRae, hard as nails triple premiership goal sneak, who also shared the locker right next to Vossy. Today I'm sitting down with two former teammates and great friends as they embark on their respective coaching journeys. Well, welcome, boys. Welcome to the set. I feel like I'm about to run out for a game of football. Look over the number 3 and the number 4, side by side together. We're about to go and play a game of footy, aren't we, boys?
Yes, this could be interesting.
Well, it's a long time ago, John.
We'll see how we go.
We'll be all right. I'm a very hard-hitting journalist, boys, so be on your best behaviour here.
Well, I'm just coming to terms with Voss's colours. I'm just coming to terms with it all. It looks very different.
Confronting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess it has the magnitude of coaching two of the biggest clubs in the land. Has it struck you yet, boys?
Well, not really. No, I got recognised at the shops, which I don't normally do, so that's sort of kicking in. But no, I think you just get down to the business, mate. We're all sort of process-driven guys in the industry, so you get to work. But the other layers of that will come, I'm sure. But at the moment, it's okay.
Yeah, I don't think we know the full scale of it yet, but
what round do we play each other? That'll be pretty big.
That'll be very big.
If you don't already know, boys, it's round 11, by the way.
Yeah, right. No, we didn't know. There you go. So no, we didn't know. It goes to show you that we only look a few weeks ahead. But
it's real funny though. Round 11 could be 80,000 people, and you walk into the opposite coaches' boxes after sharing 3 premierships together.
Yeah, we caught up for lunch the other day. I think that's the last time we'll ever catch up again.
I must admit, it's going to be weird because being close friends and, you know, I'm ringing about some ideas about we're playing St Kilda, you know, what they're playing them next week. That's sort of conversations you're having. So no doubt we'll have that throughout the year. But then when we play against each other, tools down, mate. They won't be answering that phone that week.
One of the real hard things of this job is having, I guess, when you're in certain circumstances and, you know, whether it's working for you or whether it's not working for you. And, you know, it can feel like it's a pretty isolated sort of job at times. But, you know, just being able to chat to Fly and be able to bounce things off with him already has been really useful. And, you know, sometimes it can be as complicated as, like, how you going with your players, and sometimes as simple as just how you handle those emails coming through. So it's, you know, just being able to bounce off someone who's, you know, riding those highs and lows is wasn't probably something I had on my last go, but be able to know that I can pick up that phone call anytime and pick up that phone and be able to call someone and just bounce a few things off him about what it's like right now is, you know, it's really useful.
The coaching journey, boys. So, Vossy, you've done it before. You were my coach for 5 years. We made a final series. We started off well. But so you've been there. You've been in the top job. Second time round, what's the differences? What do you feel at the moment?
I think familiar in that you're probably a bit more sure about your philosophies. And maybe that's what the time gives you. I certainly didn't do it in the right order. It was a different order to do it in, but you know, you learn some good things about that and you learn some bad things about that. But then when you go back to work and you learn about yourself and how you would do it, it just sort of really consolidates some of the ways that you would go about it. So there's absolutely no doubt through that experience and then what I've done since, more so at Port Adelaide, you sort of start to learn about what's important and how do you want your program to look like, how do you want to develop your players. You come a lot firmer on what that looks like, and because, as you know, every coach has got their own way of doing things. You know, Fly will have his own way of being able to go about it, and I'll have my own way. But you've got to be really clear on it, and the clearer you are, I think the more effective you can become as a leader. So, you know, like, you know, it's a very different pathway to where Fly's been. You know, he sort of cut his teeth and, you know, come through the ranks and coach your own team.
15 years to sit here in this chair and watch, you know, work with Michael and learn good lessons and obviously off some great coaches in Clarko last year and then Dimmer the years before that. And waiting for your time through development pathways and then sort of getting sacked for one job and then trying a different path and coach 100 VFL games.
How do you end up coaching the biggest club in the land? And I remember as a player, you were such a You were a fun generator. You know, I loved you as a teammate for that. You always brought a smile to everyone's face. You used to wear a hat to social occasions or in the locker room. You used to wear a hat that used to say minibus because you always thought you were only half a coach.
How
do you end up now coaching? How do you put the Collingwood faithful at ease? Because surely you're more than half a coach now.
Oh, well, the time will tell, won't it? But, like I said, 15 years of developing my craft and, I'm a qualified teacher, all these things. But one thing that Collingwood did really well was put you through a pretty thorough process. It went for 3 months. Had to present a number of times. Michael, funnily enough, was in the same process, so he could back up how thorough it was. And, you get to a position, John, where there's a clear process you've gone through and you have great confidence that, out of all the coaches in Australia, that you're seen to be the one that they want. And, clearly Collingwood are in a different phase to some clubs at the moment. We've got a lot of youth and then a lot of experience. So, my development background will certainly hopefully stand us in good stead. So
we were fortunate enough to be coached by one of the greats boys, weren't we, in Lee Matthews. No doubt he would have been influential on your coaching philosophies. And what would you say is your main takeaway, Fly? I know it's hard to condense into something, but we've only got a half an hour, mate.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's so much. Like I just, as a player, we just installed that role, the value of playing roles, and I was a role player. You guys were the stars, so you got to...
That's right.
Yeah, you were.
That's right,
yeah. He's nodding. He's nodding.
Oh, geez, it's a shame. It's a shame, mate. He's nodding.
You can say Acker. Yeah, you Acker too.
So as a player, he valued that stuff, as you know, and then, that allowed me to be part of a great team. But it's just all the elements of like coaching team, which now it's something I love, coaching team and the connection of that, and then the value of all those things. I think the ability, what Lee did so well was the old snowball effect. As that snowball got bigger, he got out of the way and allowed it just to take its own course. They're all great lessons that we learn off him, and clearly not sitting here with all the lessons from as a player and coaching. And a lot of my philosophies are around what Lee did and installed in all of us.
Yeah, I think he was. Probably the first coach I had where he wasn't coaching everyone to be the same. He was quite happy to embrace that we're all quite different. In fact, we had a psychologist. That's how Acker actually flourished. That's a good idea to use that word. But it's also why he was, with his points of difference, why he was accepted. And I thought Lee did a great job of being able to convey what Acker brought in his strengths to our group, and likewise, Fly's role in the team, and reinforce what you offered as a player and what I was supposed to bring, and somehow through all those conversations he was able to get us all to work together. And I remember just even pre-games, the varying difference in personalities, and I think it was the first group I was really a part of that we sort of just accepted that we were all somewhat different. I stayed away from Leper and Fly. They were the ones that liked to sort of move around the room a little bit, and I sort of floated in and with my intensity. And
there's Pikey banging his head against the locker room.
Banging head, and then there's Charmo doing whatever Charmo did. So I just think it was just a great way to be able to embrace people's points of difference, the strengths that they bring, and then we're able to put that together as a football team.
Lee's sayings, which they're standing tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I'll use that already. I've actually
You've been using that, haven't you? The players are going to be onto this.
I did use that early. Yeah. I think one thing Lee did have was, it's different to my style, and we all get our own style of personality, but he had this power over you all the time. He just felt like you were always listening to him. Well, I felt that. I don't know if you guys felt the same.
I still do. When he rings, I still shudder when he sees his name pop up on the phone. Oh no!
I don't think people can believe you that if you got suspended, he didn't talk to you for 3 weeks.
That's right.
It happened to you a bit.
He didn't speak to you about a year.
For a year. That's right.
But it was like he kept you on edge. So if you had some irrelevance, it was. But if you stepped out of line,
you can't help me this week, boys.
Yeah.
If you're suspended or you're injured, it sort of it sounded harsh, but he's right.
It was, and even things like pre-season, 10-year player, can I go to my best mate's wedding? He goes, no, what if everyone did that? And I go, well, no, I'm just asking if I can go. Like even today, I'm using that. Players come to me for wedding, I go, absolutely, mate, you go. You do the work, you get rewarded. Well, Lee didn't quite do it that way, did he?
Right.
So you learn lessons along the way,
There's always one player wanting to take the mickey out. Who's the person, though, that you rely on to raise a hand and tell you when you're getting it wrong or you're stuffed up, because I remember a few years ago we played against Tyson Stengline. It was a great player for Adelaide and West Coast, premiership player, and Lee used to always pronounce his name Tyson Steinglen, and this went on for 6 or 7 years, and obviously there was a lot of little bits of laughter and cackling in the back of the room, and then finally Lee goes, "Boys, what are you laughing at?" And he goes, "Boy, it's Stengline, not Steinglen." After Gubby Allen finally put his hand up and said, "Lee, you've been saying it wrong for 7 years." Who's that person in your corner that's going to give you the honest truth? Surely not Lepper.
No,
I don't think anyone's ready to.
No, look, I think we're too early for that. I reckon it's in the locker rooms they're laughing at us or texting each other that night. I'm certain of that, but we're probably not at that stage. I did say to Lepper really early days that, you know, I used to think I was quite funny, but as a senior coach, you just don't get laughs at all. So I put a lot of pressure on Lepper to be the funny guy amongst our environment.
Well, you've got to be careful asking for that too.
It's a big responsibility, because Lepper's known as, he loves a joke. Yeah. Not always great though.
No.
Quality of his jokes, have they improved?
If you want a proper dad joke, Lepper's got it. So
well, after 25 years, I've heard most of them, and I'm hearing most of them again. So no, you do rely on a few things, but I think it's too early, John. I think that's going to take its own course.
How important is that support staff around you now? Obviously, we're in the age of the soft cap or the football department cap to get the right team around you.
Oh, absolutely critical. Yeah. Like, you know, again, one of the great things of coming into this role, Collingwood said, you know, put your team around you that you need, and there's some great people that were working there, and you know, they're coming to, you know, everybody's seen what they're capable of within our environment, but to bring other people that you trust and people that you work with, like Brendan Bolton and Justin Lepper, just, you know, such quality in what they can bring to the table.
Lepper and Bolts has struck me as two contrasting
complete
characters.
Opposites they are. Yeah, they absolutely are. But you know, I sit in the middle, and amongst the other coaches of Hayden Skipworth and Scott Selwood are doing a great job amongst that. You know, I just want diversity. It was one of the great things. I wanted a diverse coaching group, so the players get to see all that difference. So that's something we're aiming for. But the support staff are enormous. This is not a one-person job, and anyone thinks it is very naive.
It's probably the biggest point of difference that's changed. You know, it certainly got expanded to 9, 10 coaches there for a while, and football departments got quite big. And then, you know, obviously Softcaps brought that in a little, but there's still, you know, being able to have that group of people that are around you is just so critically important. And I think if we were sitting here with 16 other coaches in the competition, they'll be saying the exact same thing. I mean, they are the guys that have the reach. They're the guys that are out there selling the game plan. They're the ones that, you know, talking to the players every single week. So being on the same page with them is absolutely crucial, and players will sniff it if you're not. So I think one of the challenges when you come in as a first-time coach is that trying to get on the same page with every coach and every player is a really difficult exercise, isn't it? So a lot of time spent in meetings where you can talk around in circles at times, but it's better having mess on the table than mess in front of the players, and you've got to bring that real clarity and simplicity back to the players and all be on the same page.
It's a bit different for the current assistant coach, because I remember our assistant coach at Lions, they could have been professional table tennis players, because that's all they wanted them out there, just getting to know the boys. Yeah. And I swear to God, Craig Lambert could have joined the Australian team. He played that much table tennis.
Well, I think even Lammy admits it wasn't the toughest job in that he had. He was a bit confused whether he should move Ackermanis into the midfield and lap into the half-forward flank.
True.
He had a fair bit to his disposal at that time.
No wonder he had a good serve.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So he won't like that either, that we just mentioned that. So he's going to hate it.
I was lucky enough to play under a great skipper in Michael Voss, who led the Brisbane Lions to 3 consecutive flags. I'm sitting down with him and our great mate, Craig McRae, talking all things footy and life outside the game. Opposite ends of the spectrum with your family, boys. Vossy, you're trying to kick your kids out of the house. You're reading fairy tales to your kids. Fly, so the family balance with coaching. We read a lot about it now in the modern day and the challenges on coaches in their time.
Yeah, I'm very much at the other end. So I guess it does give an opportunity to be able to probably spend a little bit more time there. I've always always believe sort of where your kids are at, you sort of modify a little bit of the time and when you work is a little bit determined by what stage of your kids' your life is at. You know, if they come home from school, you like to be there and, you know, be present for them, or certainly be there for, you know, when they have their own activities, and then that sort of changes, and then they don't really want to see you anymore. So it sort of comes back. So I'm a little more in that phase now.
Still want you to feed them, though.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like it's so important though. What I've learned is that you don't get a lot of time with them, but what's critically important, that you do be totally present when you are with them, and that's all they ask for.
Oh, 15 years as an assistant, mate, you're sort of in that chair where you dictate a lot about the hours, and with COVID in the last couple of years, you're sort of asked to do a lot of things over the job description. So I'm really determined to allow our assistants to put family first, and even in just little things, planning the schedule or not calling coaches on their day off. All these little things will help, you know, our staff have better balance. And it's one thing to ask your staff to do it, but you've got to practice and live it yourself. So again, these are all new experiences for me, but I'm aiming to be really present with my family and not miss out on the first days of school and, you know, all these important things that happen along the time. So again, it'll be something I'll be aiming to do.
And what about the management of players? So there's obviously a lot more stresses on them than what we had, I think, you know, certainly from the outside world. Like, how do you manage the modern day player?
Well, it's a lot different environment to, you know, we're coming through, and I talk to the players about this a lot, because, you know, once upon a time it was turn up the football, you're a footballer, and then, you know, you turn the door in and walk out and you had your life. There was no real crossover between them. In fact, you were probably encouraged to somewhat compartmentalise it. But the advent of other things like social media has brought that world closer together, and the players are forever reachable. We have to make that environment extremely safe. You know, and we have to provide that environment where they can come in here and they can be themselves, because around each other, that's where we've got to let them to be themselves a little bit, because when they're sort of out being looked at and evaluated and judged, you know, it can be extremely difficult if that's 24/7. So they have a stronger sense of purpose around about what they believe in, and they're quite willing to tap into that now. They're quite willing to have those conversations. I mean, I'm having conversations I would never dare dream to have conversations, even with my mates, and they're quite willing to go there if it's needed in the view of building connection.
It's more embracing the player, getting him around. Like I wouldn't imagine the Robert Wall spray or Lethal at his best would have. You'd be dishing out many of those sprays.
Yeah. Oh, clearly not some of those ones back in the time. But I think there is
still traumatised by Wallsy.
Some of them are still shaking over some. But yeah, I'm a big believer that everyone likes to be told when they're doing something well. So why not shout it out and reward the good and water what you want to grow, if you like. I think those things are really critical in the culture right now.
Another player, Patrick Cripps, so inspirational captain. You were one of the greatest captains the game's seen. What knowledge or what things can you pass on from your experience as a player, as a captain, have you been able to pass on to Cripper?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that you learn, it's very easy to think that all your really great life lessons come out of when you hold a premiership cup above your head. But the reality is my biggest life lessons have come, and how I've been shaped in the way I am as a person, have come in my darkest moments. So I guess as a leader, it's about trying to understand that and you know, giving him an opportunity to be able to explore what that was. And he's come back full of passion, loves leadership, has really grown, from what I understand, from people who've been there in the past around his leadership. And so I guess having those lots of conversations around who he is as a leader. But the fundamental thing you need to be able to do is be able to influence on game day. And it all comes back to that. You know, when it's all said and done, whatever you do out, off the field, it comes to what you do on the field. And he has presented himself so very well. He's set himself up for a very strong season, and I know he'll lead really, really strongly.
Does he try to take on too much of a load in a good way? But obviously, naturally, he wants to lead by example. Has he tried to take too much on in the past?
I think that's some of the feedback that he's got, and that's not just probably off the field. It's been probably thinking that that he needs to do that on the field. And what we have to do, and our responsibility for us, is that he doesn't have to have that feeling. That we have a totally committed group that when they're asked to do it, they step up and they get their role done. And it's all through good intention. But what we want to make sure that we're continually reinforcing is that he doesn't have to sit there and worry about 5 other blokes and what sort of job they're doing. He just needs to worry about the guy that's beside him. He needs to worry about himself and the job that he has to do in that moment. And as a byproduct of that, it'll become so clear for him.
Fly, we had the great benefit, or you've got the great benefit now of seeing close hand. 2 great captains, 2 great players in our game. Obviously Vossi and now Pendles, your captain. Similarities, comparisons so far?
Oh, look, one thing that Pendle's come out in an article not long ago, just talking about the detail of what he's prepared to do. Yeah, it's just incredible.
I thought of Vossi straight away.
Yeah, and that's it. I'll never forget one day, I think we might have been returning from a broken leg in '98, and I'd had a pretty average year. And I said to Vossi, do you mind if I train with you? And this is one of the great lessons I learned along the way. I thought I was a good trainer. Really professional way I went about it. But then when I trained with Vossi for 3 months, I got, oh my God, this is a whole new level. So sometimes you don't know what you know until you know, and that was a great lesson learned. I think Pendles is an incredible role model for our young squad, and the depth of what he's prepared to do. He sort of cracks his leg and gets an operation. He's back in 3 weeks. He just doesn't leave a stone unturned and to try to be a better player. He leads by example on the field and off the field, and just I think we're going to remove him from the midfield a bit. It'll just allow space for others to step up in there, but also having him behind the ball, we've got great hope and belief that he's going to be able to lead from a different version of the ground, or a different part of the ground. So, incredible leader, and obviously got hopefully a lot more life in his legs yet.
Absolutely. 34, he's still going well. Training, except for the training session, you were a great trainer, very professional. But I turned up at your house one morning, we're going for a bike ride, and mate, you had a 40-year-old Malvern Star bike. And then remember that, and then we couldn't get up there. We couldn't get up the hill by the end of the ride.
That was Donna's, mate. That was
a peg on the spokes too, wasn't it?
Well, I had the straws at the top of the hat.
I took the philosophy that it was a little easy to ride a proper bike, so I might as well ride a hard one. Get more out of it, mate. Get in the grind.
He loves his bike riding too, all the full silks.
He looks good in Lycra, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't know.
Straight
not sure that's too flash anymore, Brownie. I won't be getting around Melbourne in any Lycra anytime soon. That's for sure. So,
one of the lost arts in boxing is the prediction of the knockout. What round a boxer's going to knock someone out in? Come on, boys, don't give me the party line. Where are you going to finish in the top 8? We've got finals predictions.
This is one of the things I must say. I really struggle with this. We live in this process place and get better every day. And as Lee would say, we're not in a prediction game. We're not here to predict. We're just here to get better. And it's so difficult.
Don't say the F word.
You had us relaxed until then, Brett. Yeah. Then you become a media performer. Yeah, that's right. It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one to manage.
There's big expectation, isn't there, from your fan base?
There is. But I've just been a believer of living in the moment and embracing it. We always sort of get our minds cast forward around what it looks like, and we snap straight into it. We get asked questions like that, but I think if you dug really deeply too, Brownie, you'd realise that it's about moment to moment and about enjoying that, and we sort of know what'll happen if we get that right. So, but at the same time, I don't think you can shy away from expectations. But we've got a group at the moment where I'd sort of say, well, I'm not sure what that looks like for us yet. We've got a lot to get right. We've got a fair bit of respect to be earned, but I don't want to cap what that looks like for us at the moment.
That's good. So I'm sort of taking it as a maybe. It's a maybe fence.
Yeah,
that's all right.
So we won't say it's top 4 for now, Brownie. That's for sure. No. So
what are you doing to yourself? It looks like the most stressful occupation in the world from the outside. Why?
Oh, look, we just...
You can come over here. You can come and sit with me.
I must admit, this is just part of my journey in my career. I just so grateful to be living in this space and represent these colours and get an opportunity in life. Why wouldn't you? This is a great opportunity in life to just live it out. I still drive past the Holden Centre and just pinch myself. Am I the coach of this place? It's just living in the moment and being grateful for what we have while we have it not. I think I'll just keep that for as long as I do the job.
Well, I think you talked about Lee's sayings. I remember talking to Lee when I first got in it, and he sort of said, mate, let's lock a hole in the stomach as a competitor. and you try and fill it, and you never will. So I guess I'm still trying to fill it. And trying to get my food, my nourishment, and I don't feel that that's been fulfilled. I feel like there's still a lot more that I can give. I think the flow-on effect then is it is amazing how good you feel when you've worked with a player and you've been working on something for so long and they do something out on the field and you just go, we've been working on that. How good is that? And then there's the other feel, which is, as a coach, when as a group of coaches, you're trying to put your game style together and you see a passage of play emerge or a great piece of defence, and you get quite excited by all of that. So I love that. I love that part. I love the competitiveness of it. I love the creativity of being able to put something like that together, and I love being able to try and bring people together to be able to get to a common cause. And that's who I've learned off of all my mentors, and hope to be able to get some success, in the long run. Yeah.
Jeez, I want to run out, boys. I just feel it. I feel like I'm in the rooms, 80,000 people above us, and you've just given the big speech to get us fired up. Obviously, you're in the opposite coach's box, so that's going to be a wonderful occasion. I can't wait to see that, boys. How long until the other touches base with the losing coach the next day? You're going to rub it in straight away, boys?
No, we're not going to talk to each other for 10 years. So, this is a little more common than that.
We've got a couple of premiership reunions to come.
Yeah, well, that's right. Exactly.
Well, I'm just hoping he buys me that chicken parmery.
I think it's, it's no secret. Man crush, I love the man. He's been a great friend for such a long period of time. We've had a lot of fun together. We could probably tell a lot of stories that we definitely don't want to tell as coaches. We don't want our players thinking, listen, we'll do that on the next one. But, to be able to sort of share this experience, even being at different clubs, feels quite unique and quite special. And I'm sure we'll know when we need to be mates, and I'm sure we'll know when we need to be professional.
Beautiful. Well, stay mates with me, boys, and give me all the inside info before that game. Yeah. All the best. Thanks for the chat, boys. I think the whole football world is really rooting for you, and great to see you back in the job again, mate, and great to see you in your first time. Two of my greatest teammates. I love playing with you. I love still being mates with you. So all the best for the 2022 season.
Thanks, Brad.